What's up, guys? Coming at you with a little quick fire preview of UFC Freedom 250. Dean and I, as always, will have our full previews coming out soon as well, but wanted to get the party started with a quick preview of all 7 fights coming to you June 14th from Washington, D.C., celebrating United States' 250th birthday in the best way possible with some UFC fights that are going to be absolutely amazing. You know that they designed this card in a very specific way when the first fight of the night is Diego Lopes versus Steve Garcia at featherweight. So on one hand, you've got Diego Lopes, 2-time title challenger, 11 career knockouts, 12 career wins by submission. He's currently ranked number 2 in the division, coming off the fights with Volkanovski, been at that championship level, operating for a couple of years now, and he's still one of the most exciting fighters in the division. His last 3 fights have been fight of the night bonus winning performances that tell you about everything you need to know about Diego Lopes. On the other hand, you've got Steve Garcia. He's currently ranked number 9, but he has absolutely been on fire. A 7-fight win streak, 6 of those wins coming by knockout, most of them in the first round. And I don't know what they've been putting in Steve Garcia's water, but it has been working because he has looked absolutely sensational, like he's operating on another level. The boxing in particular. He's got good wrestling, good takedown defense, but it is the hands that have been delivering for Steve Garcia. I'm fascinated to see how this one goes. They put this together because it's going to be fireworks. If these guys get in close where they both want to be, they're going to be slanging and banging. I do think that Diego Lopes has an incredible chin. Steve Garcia has incredible power, however. Diego Lopes, better jiu-jitsu. I think he can probably get Garcia to the ground. Garcia, very good takedown defense and scrambly. So I do think that Lopez's probably clearest path to victory is to get it down to the mat. But I tell you what, these guys, they're going to throw hands, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. All right, up next, we've got Bo Nickal versus Kyle Daukaus. Now, to maybe the average fan, they'd be like, Kyle Daukaus? But let me tell you what, Kyle Daukaus has been looking fantastic. There are really 2 chapters to the Kyle Daukaus story, and we are very much in chapter 2, the hero arc. He spent some time away in the regional organizations, got a bunch of finishes there, and then after returning to the UFC last summer, knocked out Ciryl Pereira in 43 seconds. Darce choked Gerald Meerschaert, which if you know, you know, that's very impressive, and also in under a minute last November. Something has changed in Kyle Daukaus, and I absolutely love it. And I think that this is going to be a real test for Bo Nickal, who continues to make those leaps as he continues to grow as a mixed martial artist. He is, I'm sure we've talked about many times, he is one of the greatest collegiate wrestlers in all history. 3-time NCAA D1 national champion. The only year he didn't win, he was runner-up. Dan Hodge Trophy winner. Absolutely lights out grappling wrestling, and he's been improving in his MMA grappling with every fight as well. The other thing that's been improving in every single fight has been his striking. In his last fight against Adolfo Vieira, don't forget, he got a head kick knockout in the 3rd round against a very crafty veteran. So listen, obviously, Bo Nickal has superior wrestling. His striking has come along. I do think he is a better athlete, but Kyle Daukaus has underrated power and some very tricky jiu-jitsu. Kyle Daukaus has 8 career wins by Darce choke. I want to say like 3 or 4 in the UFC alone. The guy is very crafty, very sneaky, especially when it comes to those front headlock chokes, which is a position that, you could potentially get in quite a bit if you're facing a wrestler. So Bo Nickal will definitely have to mind his P's and Q's when it goes to the ground. I think this is going to be another really fun one. You got to believe that Bo Nickal is going to want to show out at the White House in front of his guy. He goes golfing with the president. That's crazy. At lightweight, we have Michael Chandler versus Mauricio Hufi. Now, Mauricio Hufi currently number 9 in the lightweight division, coming off a fantastic round 2 knockout of Rafael Fiziev in January. It was a performance of the night bonus winner for him. 3 of his 4 UFC wins have come by knockout, including, let's not forget, that absolutely filthy wheel kick knockout of King Green. That was a knockout of the year contender, I believe, 2025. Crazy. Just sickening to watch, honestly, if you're friends with King Green. And then you've got Michael Chandler. Listen, he's been at the top of this division ever since he arrived in 2021. The most insane resume that you could have. Fought Oliveira twice, fought Gaethje, fought Poirier, recently fought Paddy Pimblett. He's got, wins over Dan Hooker and Tony Ferguson. The resume, the red is more than the green. However, anybody that watches those fights can recognize the danger that Michael Chandler can present when he gets his game going. When he does get his game going, he's a guy who wants to get in tight, throw big shots, big hooks, big overhands, possibly, wrestle, get you down to the mat. And he's a very good wrestler, especially on top. Very good at anti-jiu-jitsu. And I think that's what he's going to try to do in this fight, because Ruffy is an absolute sniper. He's got that Conor McGregor-esque stance, likes to operate from the outside. And, Chandler likes to get in your face and kind of be a bit of an agent of chaos. So I think the fight really does come down to whether Chandler can work his way to the inside or whether Ruffy will pick him apart at range and possibly land one of those show-stopping, fight-ending kicks he's got. Up next, we've got Derek Lewis versus Josh Hokit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like him or not, Hokit has made ridiculous waves in 2026. He has gone from a complete unknown to the number 5 ranked heavyweight in the world in 6 months. He's 9-0 overall, 3-0 in the UFC, and his last fight with Curtis Blades put him in legendary status for that fight alone. Those two absolutely went at it every single second of that fight. And I think a lot of people felt like that was not how that fight was going to go. Josh Hokit is not a very big heavyweight, and Curtis Blades, phenomenal wrestler, big, true heavyweight. But Josh Hokit showed that he has ridiculous cardio and gas. He's got great wrestling, and most of all, he's got zero respect. Honestly, he fights the way he does his trash talk. There's no limit, there's no boundary. He's gonna annoy the hell out of you. He's gonna be in your face, won't shut up, won't go away. And I think that honestly, some of his trash talk plays into the way that he fights, and is a way to get guys reacting emotionally. I don't know how emotionally Derek Lewis will react. He's a pretty, straight level guy. But man, he is the king of knockouts in the UFC. Most knockouts in UFC history at 16, and most finishes in UFC heavyweight history at 16 as well. He is ridiculously experienced, much more experienced than Josh Hokit is. This is going to be his 32nd UFC fight. And at heavyweight, even though he's a little older, still in his prime. At heavyweight, that age just doesn't matter as much. This fight really does come down to, I think, the first round. Can Derek Lewis find Hokit's chin early enough? And if he can land, I do think, Derek Lewis can put anybody out, anybody. But Hokit, man, he strings together some crazy combinations, unlike any other heavyweight I've ever seen fight. And I can see a scenario where even relatively early in the fight, he's going to smother Lewis's range, get in there, and just be throwing ridiculously long combinations. I could see him getting knocked out by Derek Lewis, but I could also see this fight going long and looking really rough for Derek Lewis, even into the second, third fight, because we've seen Derek struggle in fights that go a little bit longer. And as soon as I say that, you know what pops into my mind? Volkov. Derek Lewis knocking out Alexander Volkov at 4 minutes and 49 seconds of round number 3. So who am I to say? Derek Lewis can knock you out anytime, anywhere. Even when he looks like he's on death's door, he will resurrect from the grave and find a way to land a big punch. So this fight is going to be awesome. Next up, we've got former bantamweight champion Sean O'Malley taking on Aman Zahabi. Sean O'Malley ranked number 2 in the division right now. Of course, he is a ridiculously talented, slick, accurate, powerful striker, amazing footwork, difficult to find, elusive, all the things. And then you've got Aman Zahabi, who's number 6, 14-2 overall career-wise with 8 finishes, but he's on a 7-fight win streak. And that tells you what you need to know about where his mind is, about how sharp his tools are right now. He beat guys like Pedro Munoz, Jose Aldo, Chito Vera. They have very different ways of approaching the striking. You know, O'Malley is just this smooth operator on the outside. Like I said, the footwork, the angles, the timing. He's got great kicks on the outside. And he's the type of guy who often gets guys swinging at air. But Zahabi is very measured and technical and looks for his spots to be technical. I do think in this fight he's going to have to let his hands go a little bit more, though, because I think that his best chance will be to crowd the space, crowd Sean's space, because Sean likes to have a lot of room to operate and find his moments, pick his shots, and be gone. If you can make it a little bit dirty, a little bit messy against Sean, Zahabi is going to have more success in those scenarios. And just there's no denying a fighter with that level of momentum, and there's no denying the fact that Sean O'Malley has that championship experience. So another fascinating matchup, and one that I think is pretty important for Sean to establish that he's not leaving the top of that division anytime soon. And on the side of Zahabi, it would be the biggest win of his career, and to do it at the White House, how insane would that be for Aiemann Zahabi? And then we get to the big fights. We've got Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane for the interim heavyweight champion. Alex Pereira, one of the biggest stars in the UFC right now, former light heavyweight and middleweight champion, looking to become the first 3-division champion in UFC history. That is a crazy piece of history that he's chasing. But this matchup, his skill set, his size, his frame, makes me believe that he's absolutely capable of doing it. More than capable, quite frankly. He's got the second highest strike accuracy rate among active UFC fighters, which is crazy when you think about it. I mean, the entire roster, and he's number 2 in terms of accuracy. We don't measure power. We don't really have a way to do that, but we all know that Pereira has ridiculous power. So the fact that he's able to land with that level of accuracy is part of why he's able to finish guys as frequently as he does. He's got the second most title fight knockouts overall in history as well. So he's a guy who rises to the occasion and performs even better in title fight scenarios, which he's been in a lot of. On the flip side, we have the number 1 heavyweight, Ciryl Gane. Former interim heavyweight champion. He's already held this belt before. He beat Derek Lewis back in 2021 to get that belt. He's 13-2 with 1 no contest overall. Obviously, that no contest was his last fight in Abu Dhabi. I was there calling it. Such a weird scenario, a sad ending to that fight for everybody involved. But I will say, watching that fight live, I was maybe blown away is not the right word, because I know Ciryl Gane is really good, but I was impressed with Ciryl Gane. As short as that fight went, how good he looked. I think this fight could go a bunch of different ways. There's just so many questions about Pereira up at heavyweight. We don't know. Obviously, we know what we get when we've got Ciryl Gane. He's an insane athlete at this weight class, moves unlike any other heavyweight. We try to give that title to a lot of heavyweights. I really think it belongs to Ciryl Gane and Ciryl Gane only, in terms of footwork and speed and ability to get in and out of range quickly. So we don't know what we're getting in terms of Alex Pereira up at this weight class. I saw where he said he got up to 258 pounds. And then he cut back to, he said he's going to weigh about 242 pounds at fight time. I think he looks great at heavyweight. Sean O'Malley was quick to point out he is hauling a wagon these days, an absolute wagon. And as funny as it is to point out stuff like that, the truth is that, like, when you put on size in your legs and your ass, that translates to punching power, which is a scary proposition when you already have ridiculous face-melting punching power. Gane is fast. Pereira is also fast. Pereira has the phenomenal leg kicks. I do think the calf kicks are going to be a big part of this fight. If I remember correctly, Aspinall was chewing up Gane's lead leg pretty effectively. And if you want to slow down a fleet-footed heavyweight, a great way to do that is to fire those calf kicks off. I'm interested to see how Pereira can take punches from a true heavyweight. He's taken punches from, obviously, middleweights. He got knocked out by Israel Adesanya. His chin is good, but that's just another level of power when those guys are walking around and used to taking punches from other gigantic men. Something tells me he's going to be fine, though. I don't know why. I don't know why I say that. Something just tells me he's going to be fine. I'm interested to see if Gane is going to look to fence wrestle and wear Alex out. We know Alex has good takedown defense, but would it be smart for Gane to put him up against the fence and kind of wear him out? I think so. Or are we just going to get a kickboxing match? I could really see that happening as well. These two love to ply their craft, and both of them are kickboxers at heart. So the odds on this one are roughly a pick'em last time I checked, and I think that's about right. I'm just excited to watch. And last but certainly not least, and in fact, the greatest of all, we have the best fight saved for last. Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje for the lightweight strap. Ilia Topuria 17-0, 9-0 in the UFC, former featherweight champion, now lightweight champion. He has, in my opinion, I think in a lot of people's opinion, the greatest hat trick of knockouts in the history of the UFC. Volkanovski, Oliveira, Holloway. 3 in a row on the canvas. That's rarefied air is what that is. That is a unbelievable string of knockouts to have on your resume. He's a ridiculously technical boxer, crazy power. He's actually scored a knockdown in 6 of his last fights, never mind the hat trick I just talked about. He's got the longest active knockdown streak in the history. He's got the longest active knockdown streak in the history right now. And, first ever guy to knock out Max Holloway. The power, the precision, the boxing, you can go on and on and on. On the flip side, you've got Justin Gaethje. He is a former interim lightweight champ already. He's got the highest bonus win percentage in UFC history. That really tells you, that's the book on Justin Gaethje. His power, his kicks, but it's his ability to be dangerous in every moment of every single fight where he creates this library of highlights for himself. He's got insane power in the hands, and he's got some of the nastiest leg kicks that we've ever seen in that division. Listen, Justin Gaethje is a massive underdog in this fight, but he is a man who thrives in these spots. It is not easy to pick a clear path to victory on paper for Justin Gaethje, because Justin Gaethje loves to brawl. He loves to get inside and throw hands, and we love watching it. We are the beneficiaries of his lack of personal safety. All of us fans are. But this is just a fight where you can't do that. Or will he anyway? I kind of think he will anyway, but I don't know. One thing I know, though, Justin Gaethje will not be intimidated by the moment or the setting or the opponent. And I can't honestly attribute that level, that type of mentality to anybody else that we see coming down the pipe for Ilia Topuria. So while on paper, I think Ilia hits harder, I think he's much more technical. I don't think either of them are going to necessarily look to grapple, but if they did, Ilia's phenomenal on the ground, so I'd probably give him the edge there as well. I just think that the mentality of Justin Gaethje, this is a sport that loves to make fools of those of us who try to predict it. That's all. That's what I have to say there. You just never know what this sport is going to bring you, and when you've got a guy like Justin Gaethje who is willing to bring the fire to Ilia Topuria's doorstep, I think the biggest question is whose house burns down first. That's what this fight is going to come down to. It is a career-defining fight for both men, just in different ways. For Ilia Topuria to get potentially another knockout of another major name and legend of this division, to do it at the White House in front of the President of the United States, that's history. And for Justin Gaethje, massive potential for upset. Absolutely massive. Do my Trump hands there. Either way, guys, this is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime card, a once-in-a-lifetime night. I cannot wait to see just the visual of watching these guys fight right in front of the White House is going to be absolutely sensational. I will be hosting the main stage on the Ellipse, so if you're there in person, wave at me from really far away. It's going to be a great time. And guys, we will have more content coming up. Dean and I will do in-depth breakdowns of both the main event and the co-main event. Appreciate you very much.